Alright lads, there's basically one major event that we have before anniversary, or I guess the prelude to the anniversary, and then summer, but this is kind of a good one. It's going to be bringing both Kama and Kiara, with Parvati being the 4-star that's on permanent rate up for this banner. I guess if you also want Scheherazade, she's going to be there, but really not the topic of this video, as I don't really think there's too many people that are going to be tempted to go for her as opposed to Kama or Kiara, because these are actually some tempting servants to try and pull a little bit for. Especially considering that if you are more of a veteran, you will be getting a ton of Saint Quartz for the anniversary. I would still personally advise saving for either the anniversary or for the summer events, but if you do want to go for this, you want to test your luck a little bit, that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about whether or not you should go for these servants and what you should expect if you do go and pull for them. And regardless if this dropped yesterday night, because, you know, that's a Monday, that's usually when we get our updates for FGO, or it drops next Monday or Wednesday or whenever they want to throw this out, you still have this video to come back to and say, okay, well, they finally dropped it next Friday or whatever for some reason. You can still come back to this and see what my thoughts are, because I doubt they're going to change between now and whenever they drop the event. So that being said, if you enjoy these daily FGO videos and you like being informed, make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know if you're going to be summoning on this banner, and if so, which banner are you going to be going for. But first, let me give you guys a little bit of a primer for more of my newer players, or even some veteran players that want to know if these servants still hold up over on the JP side of things. Now, luckily, if you are going to be summoning on this banner, as I said earlier, Parvati is on each of their rate-ups. She goes on rate-up with Kama, Scheherazade, Kiara, and that is the order that they go on rate-up. Although there is a little bit of overlap with Kama coming out first, then Scheherazade drops a couple of days into that, and then at the tail end of Kama is when Kiara is going to start. It's kind of like a little falling off thing. So realistically, you don't have to wait too long for any of them. But again, thankfully, Parvati is on all of these banners. And if you're going to be going for Summer Scotty, Parvati will be really, really nice, especially if you are able to bag a higher NP copy of her. If you're not able to get, I would say, anything higher than NP3, you should probably stick to whatever your main quick farmer is looking like. If that's an Edmund Dantes, if that's a Lancelot, whatever have you. Or maybe it's going to be Senno Rikyu later on in the year. NP1 Parvati is okay, but realistically quick wants those higher NP levels so they can get overkill, so they can have a better time refunding their NP. But Parvati does have all the bare essentials that you would want a looper to have. She technically has a battery, as small as it kind of is. I mean, she can donate it to somebody else and give them a 20% battery, but if you give it to herself, it's only a 10%, because she drains 10% of her own NP to give somebody 20%, so you really only get 10% for herself. But thankfully, with the quick buff and the NP gain buff, she does end up being kind of good, and it usually doesn't end up mattering. The only thing that might end up mattering for you, and something that you do want to be aware of, is that her second skill, which gives her the massive 50% attack buff, is only a 1-turn buff. I mean, go figure. They're going to give you effectively the mana burst of attack buffs. Yeah, it's probably going to last for 1 turn. So do make sure you're saving that for whatever the largest node you're going to be using Parvati on. For most people, that's going to be the 3rd wave, but if you're going to be doing some type of multi-core setup and you want to bring Parvati because you happen to get her to NP5 and maybe a Grailer, your Gold Foe, or whatever have you, know, whatever your business is, make sure you just use it on the largest node. Make sure you save that. Or if you're going to be going into more difficult quests, she doesn't exactly have the best kit for it, but she's got things that make her nice, you know, the heals, the big defense, and the ability to bomb a lot of stars, because she does give herself a 100% star gen rate on that second skill. With an AoE quick NP, even with only 4 hits, 100% star gen on that is really going to net you a lot of stars. As well as also give you a little bit of that party gauge, which might come in handy if you need her to kind of loop a little bit better. That's why it's kind of fine that she only has a 10% battery, because she does give herself a little bit of extra refund. But if you also want to use her in a multi-core setup and you're needing that extra 10 or maybe 20% NP, then you can always have them go, you know, last on the 3rd node, and then you could treat her as essentially a 20% battery with 2 of her NPs for those other people. She's just kind of nice. Again, nothing super broken, but her kit was made good enough that as long as you do manage to, again, bag at least NP3, in my experience, still kind of holds up fairly well. Obviously, there are going to be better people in the current meta for you to use as a looper, but she's not bad if you're going to be getting her as a consolation prize for either Kama or Kiara. Now, Kama, on the other hand, I don't know what they did with this unit, man, but somehow we're still in the current year of FGO, and Kama is just built really fine. I mean, they just gave her all the bare essentials you would want a good single target servant to have. I mean, they gave her a 50% battery. She has a niche against alter egos where she becomes super effective towards them, dealing 2 times damage and also taking half damage against them. And then she also reduces their charm resistance by 40%. And wouldn't you know, she has an 80% chance to charm on her own NP. So that basically means when you fire that NP that turn, they are going to be getting charmed. And even though she only has 20% crit damage for 3 turns, we do wish that might have been a little bit higher, and technically it is 26% with her independent manifestation passive skill. She'll be just fine as long as you can pair her with, say, a Scotty or a ruler Scotty, someone that can give her those really big quick buffs, and especially with the normal Scotty, those quick crit buffs. But even with ruler Scotty with the buster crit buffs, she does have 2 buster cards, and so she'll work really well with her. They also gave her a Guts that does not expire, and what that means is the Guts procs, and there's no cooldown on it. You know, you pop the Guts, and it only goes away whenever you use it, which is very, very strong. And if that wasn't enough, she has a 10-hit single target quick NP, which can get you a decent bit of refund back, as well as it also stacks a quick performance buff of 20% for 3 turns at the lowest overcharge level. I mean, she's just really, really good. I almost think of Kama as a more souped up version of Kentucky Rider in the same way that they're both really, really basic servants, but especially with Kama, she has all the basic things you would want her to have. We're talking good survivability, we're talking pretty good damage, we're talking a good niche against alter egos because they don't pop up all that often, but man, when they do, it is real nice if you have Kama. I mean, there was a day on the stream that we were taking Kama to the Bleached Earth mission that has the large King Protea, and we were trying to see if we could one-turn it at NP1, and we were getting really close. I think if I had my own, say, Ruler Scotty or something, I could plug suit in the other Scotty as well, we might have been able to do it. I feel like I'm just slightly off from being able to do it. But that just goes to show that this lady can unpack like 1 mil damage nearly, you know, even at NP1. She is very, very good. And so I can especially see that if you're someone that wants to go for Ruler Scotty, being tempted to get Kama, because again, she's really good as a single target. If you need somebody to blow up an enemy in a 90 plus or potentially a 90 plus node, if they happen to be, say, an alter ego, or you get her at higher NP copies against, say, Riders or Berserkers, she's not a bad option. Just, again, I would advise, as cool as Kama is and as strong as she is, make sure you don't blow all of your Saint Quartz, you know, before the summer event comes around, because if you're planning on getting Ruler Scotty, you still want to have Saint Quartz to go for Ruler Scotty. Obviously, the older your account is and the more servants that you have built up, the more leeway you have. Thankfully, Ruler Scotty does come back next year as well, so it's not like she's the most rare servant, so even if you do miss out on her, it's not the end of the world, but it'd be a little bit annoying if you also wanted to go to first Senyo Rikyu, because she's going to be a really good looper and you want Ruler Scotty for that, so balance that out accordingly. Now, Kiara, I absolutely love. There are still some people that look at Kiara and they have that year 2 mentality of, oh man, you gotta get your Kiara to NP2 or higher, you just gotta. But then if you interrogate that a little bit and you use her in fights even at NP1, she still performs like an absolute maniac. I will not deny that on JP where my Kiara is NP3, it's definitely a lot nicer, but that is the difference of finishing a fight on, say, turn 4 or 5 as opposed to maybe 7 or 8. I'm still finishing the fight. Kiara on my NA where she's NP1 has never let me down because she just has an absolutely insane kit. And that is also thanks to in part by the fact that they kept giving her buffs. But you just start looking at all the stuff that she does and it's insane. Like lowering the enemy's debuff resistance so then this big like 30% arts down can land. Unfortunately, it's only for 1 turn, but maybe it would be a little too good if it was for 3 turns. While also having a 50% battery on a pretty decent cooldown of 6 turns, being able to not only control the entire enemy party's NP by lowering it by 1, but then yeeting all their buffs and then reducing their defense by 30% for 3 turns. And again, she's more of a CQ unit, so you do actually get to take advantage of that. And then the fact that she's super effective against rulers, you know, for some reason, I get the reason, but it is funny that she has a passive that just says, you're super effective against rulers, just have at that. We're going to give you that for free. As well as also kind of being a little extra tanky against humanoid enemies, aka pretty much every other servant because of her Logos Eater passive that gives her 16% defense against them. Then she also pierces invul and defense just built into her NP, while also having really good synergy with not only Castoria, but also Lady Avalon, because she gives herself a 5k heal, which is, again, ridiculous. And that heal can get even larger with her third skill, which just is ridiculous. I mean, it's survivability, it's decent crit damage. I mean, I've heard some people say that you can't try to do big crits with Kiara, but it's feasible, especially now with Lady Avalon. Her crits can get decent enough. The NP gain is very nice if you want to use her in farming, although I would advise that you probably do go for NP2 or higher if you want to use her in farming to be a little bit more consistent, but I've also been able to get away with it at NP1, it's just not as pretty. And then she also gives herself the healing rate received of 50%, so that 5k heal is now a 7500 heal, which is ridiculous, and that's just at Overcharge 1. And that more than bottoms out the cost of 3000 damage to herself. I mean, you take 3k damage to get all these buffs, you fire your NP, and you heal for 7500. I think we're going to be fine with that one. She's pretty dang good. And again, like I mentioned, she does work rather well with Lady Avalon and Castoria's arts team now. I mean, just in the way that she's pretty self-sufficient with her own battery, she can help with survivability by lowering the enemy's NP gauge by 1, she can heal herself, so even if she's getting targeted a lot, she can kind of cover herself, especially, again, with the extra survivability. And you don't have to waste, say, a Pierce Invul or Pierce Defense CE on her, because your Kiaras are always going to smack them in the face. And even if they do give themselves Solemn Defense, second skill, you just yeet that off, unless for whatever reason they have buff removal resistance. So these two are really dang good. Parvati, I think, is still solid if you can get her at higher NP copies, but she's, again, more of the consolation prize if you're going for Kama or Kiara. I still absolutely love these units. Are there people that are better than them? I mean, yeah, like Count of Monte Cristo, the new one that we got over on JP4 Ordeal Call 2, that guy is absolutely nuts. I mean, as a single target quick unit, it's really hard to beat a guy that just came out and they made Dummy Nutty broken. But it's not like Kama's not still a solid option if you don't have him. Same thing for Kiara. Are there better art servants out there for challenge quests? Of course there are. I mean, Castoria Berserker is nutty if you want to bring her into a challenge quest. Especially because, you know, some of those other servants are single target Kiara's AoE, which generally isn't the best for CQs because you want to be doing that single target damage. But again, like I've said, she's never let me down. Like, Kiara has served to be a very, very powerful servant for my account, whether she's at NP1 or NP3. The only thing I could say is just make sure these are the servants you want to go for. I know they're hot, and I know they're very popular, but again, you know, think up here, man. Because even though you probably will get a decent chunk of Saint Quartz for the anniversary, you gotta think that every multi you do on these other banners is one less for Archetype Earth, one less for Proto Merlin, one less for Ibuki, or one less for Summer Scotty, whoever it is that you're going to be going for. But I can't deny, if my account was in a weaker position, I would be tempted to go for somebody like Kama or Kiara, because, again, they can be pretty decent assets in certain farming nodes, but they're also very strong when you want to bring them to challenge quests. And they can really lock that down for you. So if you weren't going to summon anyway, I advise you to just not summon. You know, this was not supposed to convince you to summon. This is, again, more for my guys that are going to be summoning and my newer players who may be tempted to go for this. You know, it's not bad. They can help you out. But just, you know, keep in mind, you know, Saint Quart economy, whatever you use over here, you can't use over there. So just keep that in mind. And as I said, let me know in the comments down below if you're going to be summoning, who you're going to be going for. I hope this video is a good catalyst, except for Scheherazade summoners, because I'm still salty that she spooked me during year 3 for my Scotty summons, so there will be no good luck for that. But for everybody else, I wish you the best of luck, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace!